You're tuned in to the Pearl Reports on 730 The Game, ESPN Charlotte.
All right, current Atlanta Dream guard, former Georgia Bulldog, former Davidson Day standout, Maya Caldwell will be joining us here. You're listening to the Pearl Reports on 730 The Game, ESPN Charlotte. Welcome back to the Pearl Reports, folks, and we are in for a real treat. The pride of Davidson Day women's basketball, the pride of the Georgia Lady Bulldogs, and now the pride of the Atlanta Dream, recently signed guard Maya Caldwell from the Queen City joins us. Maya, welcome to the Pearl Reports.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're thrilled you could make some time for us right now because you have an extremely busy schedule. You had a game yesterday. You all have another game tomorrow. The WNBA All-Star break coming up. And I must say, this may or may not have been on your radar a month ago because you were just recently signed again by the Atlanta Dream at the end of June. And as a player who heard your name called on draft night in 2021, would you mind explaining to us the different contract options for these WNBA players? For instance, what's the difference in a first round, second round, third round contract? Or in your situation, you recently were also signed as an in-season contract.
Yeah, so I'll start with the in-season contract. This summer, I signed to finish out the season, excuse me, with the Atlanta Dream. So like you said, they called me at the end of June. I was at home at Curry Courts watching some of the Queen City Prelim games when I got the call. And it was as simple as, they just told me they wanted me to finish out the season with them. So, of course, I signed. That's where I'm at right now. I'm in Atlanta. And then as far as the first round, second round, and third round contracts, they're all the same. They're all rookie contracts. The only difference is really the guarantee of you making the team. Everyone in the league knows, everyone who knows about the league understands that the first couple picks in the first round of the WNBA draft are usually guaranteed. The WNBA is a hard league to get into, very small, 144 players, if that. So if you're in the first round, your contract's just a little bit more guaranteed than the second round and the third round picks. As a third round pick, I was told that, it's not impossible, but it's highly unlikely that I would make the team. And I did not make the team. I got drafted to Indiana in 2021. But that was expected. So that's really the only difference. The amount's the same. Everyone's on a rookie contract, rookie salary. It's just whether you're pick number 1 or pick number 33.
All right, let's take a couple steps back here. You grew up in Charlotte. Again, you started at Davidson Day before heading to Georgia for your college career. Extremely storied women's basketball program. Andy Landers at the helm for a long time, followed by Joni Taylor. Can you give us a couple of your favorite childhood memories as a young player in Charlotte? We've got a huge fan base in the Queen City. Lots of young ladies, 5 years old to 20 years old, listening, watching their parents who are dreaming of being the next Maya Caldwell. Can you talk to us a little bit about where did that start at a young age here in Charlotte?
It really started with my family, my siblings. My little sister, Nevaeh, she probably was the best out of the four of us that really played. I have 2 older brothers. She was like a little prodigy. Everything she saw on TV, she would go across the street to our neighbor's backyard because that's where we played basketball. They had like a half court back there. She would go to their backyard, and in like 5 attempts, she would already have down of behind the back, between the legs, layup, something crazy. And then I have my 2 older brothers, Cameron and Omar. Omar was, or is to this day, one of the best defenders I've ever seen, and somebody that I try to shadow when I'm on the court. And then my brother Cameron, he just played really aggressive, really, really mad sometimes. But to see that fire and competitiveness in him, also something that I try to reflect in my own game. But that's where it started. That's where it originated. Of course, my mom played, and she was the GOAT of the family to this day. And then I had the best AAU team. I played with the NC Spartans from, I think it was 6th or 7th grade until the year before my last summer of AAU, my junior year, that team, we were a mix of North Carolina and South Carolina girls, and every single one of them might as well have been my blood sisters. We were as close as they could be, and we were that team that no one's ever really heard of. But when we played against those teams, Nike Circuit and other teams that were pretty well known, we always gave them the work. We always came out with the win. So those are some of my favorite memories, just with my siblings, and then AAU basketball, of course.
It's easy to see and hear in your voice the passion and the connectivity and the closeness among your family. And you touched on highlighting the skills of the siblings and a brief mention to Mom. I want to dive a little bit deeper into Mom's career. Mom Patricia was an All-American player at Charlotte. What were some of the benefits of growing up having Mom as a storied, famous frontline player? And what were some of the challenges as well with that same situation?
There honestly weren't any challenges. I know in a lot of families, like, parents play sports or they do something and they want their kids to do it, and there's a lot of pressure on the kids. We didn't have that. I didn't know, we all knew my mom played basketball at UNC Charlotte. I didn't know she was an All-American with a skills record at UNC Charlotte until my junior year in high school, when I found a box of, plaques and different accolades of hers. She never talked about it. She never bragged about it. We only had to compare ourselves to ourselves and each other. There was no, oh, my mom did this, so I have to do it, or I have to do it better. She never put that pressure on us. She's very humble, which all of us are now because of it. She was a perfect example of humbleness. Maybe a little too humble, to be honest. But sometimes, looking back, I wish I did know. I wish I did know she was an All-American. Maybe I would have put that on my bucket list. But she never talked about it, and the benefits of that is there's no pressure. We get to be exactly who we are with no pressure of having to live up to any unbelievable standards. I don't know how many people can talk about their mom as an All-American with the record of over 300 steals at a D1 women's basketball program. And she really only played 3.5 years.
I love hearing that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Maya. I want to let you finish there.
Oh, no, I just said she's goated for sure.
Well, and I love hearing that word humility over and over and over, and love and supporting you no matter what you did or didn't do on the basketball court. To me as a dad, to me as a husband, to me as a teacher and a coach, those are valuable words of wisdom, and I'm sure they ring true for many of our other listeners today as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Folks, you are hearing pearls of wisdom from the Florida Gator Killer. Why do I say that? Because Maya Caldwell went for a career-high 27 her senior year, finishing off a decorated career at the University of Georgia. Now, as decorated as it was, I have been incredibly impressed with your continued growth and development. What do I mean by that? Some people splash on the scene and they score 20 as a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and you can read the tea leaves for 10 years straight. They're going to be a WNBA pick or an NBA pick. I don't know. Maybe you felt that as a freshman. I don't know that everybody around in the city did. And here's what I mean by that. As a freshman and sophomore at Georgia, you averaged 4 to 5 points a game. After that, you started 56 straight games as a junior and senior. You've stuck in the WNBA for 4 years now, despite the growing competition. You mentioned earlier, there's only 144 slots. 12 teams times 12 players equals the most difficult professional sports roster to make in the world. Congratulations. That is no small feat, to say the least. What mindset qualities have you had for the last decade to make this pro career come to fruition?
Yeah, so in college, my freshman and sophomore year, or freshman, sophomore, junior year, really, I always dreamed of going to the WNBA, but my numbers did not reflect that, so I did not necessarily believe in myself. However, my faith is very strong, so I knew that if anybody was going to be able to get me into WNBA, it was going to be God. So it was something I prayed about, but I never talked about it. And I know that makes no sense because they're like, you're at a D1 school with a history of getting players drafted. Why would you not, tell your coaches? They can network, they can get you ready, all this other stuff. I stayed in the gym and I stayed prayed up, but I would never talk about it. In my senior year, I told my mom, we talk about this all the time now. I told her, I think I want to go to the WNBA. I want to go to the WNBA. And of course, she does what she does best. And she was like, well, then do it. Like, I love you. I believe in you. If you want to do that, then you do it. But in the back of her head, I know she was like, girl, it's too late. Like, you've never mentioned this before. We could have already put all these pieces together. But she didn't share that part with me. She told me she believed in me. She supported me as she did. And so I continued to pray on it, and I just acted on it a little bit more. And then my senior year, and it honestly wasn't until my last 10 games of my senior year that I started to get noticed, and that my name came up in rooms that I didn't even know about. And so when I got drafted, for me, that was God showing me that this is possible, that because of my faith in him, I'll be able to have anything that I want. So I took that and I ran with that. And that's my number one quality, is my faith. I truly believe that if there's anything that I don't believe I can do, I know God can do it for me. I read a book called Success is My Major by Aisha Foy. And she said in her book that if your dreams are not big enough, if your dreams do not scare you, they're not big enough. The WNBA was terrifying for me because, like you just said, it's the hardest league to get into, the hardest professional league to get into. And I was not a all-star player for all 4 years of my college career. So that dream scared me to death, to the point I would pray about it and I would cry about it because I'm like, what am I even talking about? But my faith is so strong, my confidence was it was all in God. I put it in God and I let him have it. I let him deal with it. And that's exactly what he's been doing. So I apply that praying hard with working hard and not allowing the person next to me to work harder than me. And God has shown me time and time again that as long as I continue to do those two things, his plan for me will continue to unfold.
Wow. That's an incredible, incredible nugget. Thank you for sharing the power of prayer and the power of faith about your journey. I'm almost speechless, which is very hard to do for me and hard to do on this show, obviously. I guess a follow-up to that, I would say, what advice would your 25-year-old self give your 15-year-old self about life in basketball? And taking that one step further, social media was around 10 years ago, but now social media has exploded times 1,000, and I don't know how much you love it or hate it, but we see 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds every day now tweeting every practice, every score, every offer, every visit. And again, whether it's the basketball piece and the college recruiting piece, the WNBA piece, just what maturation. Obviously, you are incredibly grounded, incredibly humble, incredibly rooted in your faith in the Lord. You have a great supporting cast of family members. All of that has jumped off the broadcast so far. In addition to that, what advice would you give yourself 10 years ago taking that next journey?
Honestly, I would tell myself to be patient with God's plan, but also don't wait for other people to believe in you to do it. And sometimes you don't even have to wait to believe in yourself. Really just believe in God. Because we're not always going to have the strength and the courage or the fight or the patience to get something done or to accomplish our dreams. Just believe in God and go for it. Don't wait for your mom. Don't wait for your dad. Don't wait for your best friends. Don't wait for strangers, coaches to believe in you, to see it in you. If you think you have a slight chance, if it crosses your mind, if it's something that you want, pray for it and then work for it. And I promise you, if it is in his will, you will have it in abundance. There is no doubt about it. God has shown me time and time again in ways that I could not imagine or have made up on my own. It will come. It will come. You have to pray for it. You have to work for it. And then you have to believe in him. You don't need people to believe in you. Sometimes you're not going to believe in yourself, but if you believe in him, it will come. And that's what I would tell my 15-year-old self, for sure.
Folks, you are hearing, again, pearls of wisdom from the 33rd pick of the 2021 WNBA draft, Maya Caldwell, who also dons number 33 on her jersey currently for the Atlanta Dream. So let's talk a little bit more about a typical day right now. Again, your schedule's extremely hectic. All right. What does a typical day look like in season? Maybe a game day versus a non-game day. We've got lots of young ladies across the globe saying, I want to play in the WNBA. Okay, we get to watch you on the NBA TV network for 2 hours from 7 till 9 p.m. Nobody sees the other 22 hours of the day. Can you peel back the onion on that for us, please?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll just give you a rundown of the last week from July 4th to this morning. July 4th, we had practice, and then we got right on the bus to go to Connecticut. We played, I think we played Connecticut on the 5th. Or excuse me, no, we went to Dallas first. We played Connecticut. Sorry, let me start over. Okay. So I'm just going to give you a rundown of the last week starting July 4th. We had practice, and then we had to get to the bus. From the bus, we went to a charter plane, and from the plane, we flew into Dallas. As soon as we got to Dallas, there was treatment, and there were massages because traveling can take a toll on your body. The next day, July 5th, we had a early morning lift around like 8:30. Then we had shoot around, go back to the hotel, a little downtime, get some food in your body. Then we had a game that evening against the Dallas Wings. Right after the game, we showered. And right after we showered, we're back on the bus. And then we're back on the plane. And we arrived in Connecticut at like 5 o'clock in the morning. Later that day, we had practice. After practice, we had treatment and massages, get some food, refuel, rest, really get off your legs. The next day, you have another game day lift. And then we played against Connecticut right after the game. Shower, eat, bus, fly to Chicago. We get in Chicago that night. The next day, we're off. So, like July 8th at this point. We're off on this day. There's treatments, there's massages, a lot of recovery, some active recovery the next day. And then after that, we go to practice. We're back at the hotel around 3. Then the next day, we play against Chicago. And that was a kids' game. So, it was early in the morning. It was 11 o'clock for, like, kids' summer camp. And then right after Chicago, bus, flight, and we're back in Atlanta around, like, 6 o'clock last night. And this morning, we have to get up. We have to do some blood work. There's still more massages, more treatment, more recovery. A few players have some individual workouts, like just getting some shots up. But we got to stay off of our legs. And then tomorrow, we have a game against the Aces. So that's just the last week. That's a road trip at home. Really, the only difference is less bus rides and less flights.
Gotcha. Well, I'll just say this. My jump shot is totally broken and has been totally broken for 40-some years, but I want to sign up for that massage part of the travel schedule for the last 7 days.
I'll see what I can get you.
All right.
Open.
I love it. I love it. Well, Maya, when I comb through your resume, when I comb through the accomplishments at Davidson Day, at Georgia, with Indiana, with the Atlanta Dream, we can talk about basketball accolades all day. But the thing that really stuck out to me was this footnote, and it wasn't even a footnote, it was highlighted at the end. Degree in Communication Studies, and folks, you can see why with how articulate Maya is. And then at the bottom it said, wants to run a nonprofit organization. So with that being said, with your passion to make a difference in the world, I know you want to play basketball for a long time, but when the ball finally does stop bouncing, what would that nonprofit ideally look like to you?
Yeah, so when I was younger, about 7 years old, my family and I, we had our own nonprofit. Excuse me. And it was called Lockma Ministries, LOCMA, and it was the initials of my siblings and I. And we did a lot of drives, like food, camp food drives, furniture, clothes, backpack. What else? it was a handful of different things that we did with the community around us. And we would send all that stuff. I remember my favorite one, we sent something to Cameroon, Africa, and I remember that one because the news came out. A news channel, I think Channel 9 News came, and I mean, I'm 7 years old, like, helping pack a U-Haul truck full of canned foods and stuff like that. So I was super excited about being on TV. I really thought I was going to blow up.
You have blown up.
Well, I thought I was going to be like the next big thing as a 7, 8-year-old. Stacking canned foods. But no, we did a lot of nonprofit work in the community when I was younger. And when my siblings and I started to really get into sports, and we were swimming, basketball, tennis, soccer, football, you name it, we were involved in it. And our summer started to get really busy, so we weren't really able to be home to host the drives like we wanted to. So we put it on pause, but we haven't been able to resume since then. And that's something that I want to bring back to my community in the future, hopefully the near future. My schedule is a little unpredictable, as you can see. Sometimes I'm home and sometimes I'm randomly back in the WNBA. But that's definitely something I want to try again. Or not try again, it's something I will do again, hopefully in the near future. But that's kind of where that passion came from. And, of course, my mom started all of that. She started all of that. And I would love for her to see it back up and running.
I'm so touched by your interview. I really am, because nowadays we can turn on, fill in the blank with whatever website you want and see 10 negative stories in sports. And I hope this blows up and gets millions of views, hits, listens, likes, whatever you want. Because, yes, you can put the ball in the basket. Yes, you're an elite defender. Yes, you're one of the best three-point shooters in the WNBA. But I really hope these parents, these coaches, these daughters, these sons listen to your message about your passion about your faith, about your passion about serving, about your passion about giving back, about your passion about using basketball to make a difference for so many. Maya, we cannot thank you enough. I'm ecstatic for you to have carved out this journey on the court over the last decade, from your humble roots in the Queen City to now starring under the bright lights in the ATL. Please, please keep using your platform to encourage and excite the next generation of girls basketball players across the country. Thank you for joining us on the Pro Reports today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, folks, here's a reminder. Check out the WNBA All-Star Game from Phoenix, July 20th, and also the upcoming USA teams in the Paris Olympics, July 26th through August 11th. Remember, former Pro Reports guest Sierra Burdick will be starring in her number 7 USA jersey in the 3v3 event. Thanks for joining us at the Coach's Corner. You're listening to the Pro Reports, 7:30 The Game, ESPN Charlotte.
Attention business owners, have you been putting off selling your business, waiting for the right time to sell? The Wall Street Journal in a recent article said, finally, it's a good time to sell your business. We are in a seller's market with strong demand and record-setting valuations. Sunbelt is the largest business brokerage firm in the world. Our Charlotte office was founded in 1992, and our staff has over 100 years of collective business brokerage experience. We bring more buyers and sellers together than anyone. More buyers means businesses sell quicker and for more money. Sunbelt is ready to confidentially sell your business. You don't want your employees, vendors, or more importantly, your competitors to know you're selling. We keep it quiet. You can finally stop putting off moving on to the next chapter of your life. Call us for a confidential discussion and a free analysis of what your business might sell for on the open market. 704-897-8232 or visit us online at sunbeltbrokers.biz. That's sunbeltbrokers.biz.
Today's trivia. Our guest, Maya Caldwell, was chosen in the 3rd round of the 2021 WNBA draft, adding her name to the list of 23 other Georgia Bulldogs who were drafted in WNBA history, which is good enough for 5th most by any school all time. With that being said, what women's basketball program has produced the most WNBA players in the 27-year history? Is it the Blue Devils of Duke women's basketball? Or how about the Stanford Cardinal owning the West Coast? Or is it Lady Vol Nation in the University of Tennessee? Or lastly, is it the house that Gino built up in Storrs, Connecticut? Come on back to find out which of these women's basketball powerhouses has sent more players to the W than any other school. You're listening to the Pearl Reports, 7:30 The Game, ESPN Charlotte.
Visit 730 The Game and the Pearl Reports everywhere you find your podcasts. iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. 730 The Game. The Pearl Report's out now everywhere you listen to your podcast.
Welcome back. Again, today's trivia. Maya Caldwell, chosen in the third round of the 2021 WNBA draft, adding her name to the list of 23 other Georgia Bulldogs. Good enough for 5th all-time on the WNBA list for schools supplying the most players to the WNBA. So who's number 1? It is not the school in Durham. Duke University coming in at 26 players, good enough for 4th all-time, highlighted by Chelsea Gray of the Aces, Elizabeth Williams dominating the paint for the Sky, and the pride of the Queen City, Joy Smith, formerly Joy Cheek, now an assistant coach at Ole Miss. It is not the Stanford Cardinal either. They come in 3rd place at 30 players. Former head coach Tara Vanderveer's April retirement, 38 years dominating the West Coast and piling up 1,200-plus victories. Highlighted by the Agumake sisters, Nneka had 13 years, former Rookie of the Year and MVP. How about Jennifer Azzi, that point guard now running the front office for the Las Vegas Aces? Or the number 2 draft pick in this year's draft, Cameron Brink. All right, sorry, Volunteers. It is not the home of the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, Tennessee either. Pat Summitt and company can boast 43 alum in the WNBA, boasting 8 national titles, highlighted by Shamiqua Holdsclaw, who led the Vols to the title in 96, 97, and 98 as the all-time leading scorer and rebounder. Or we could tackle Candace Parker in her 16-year career, 3-time WNBA champ who retired in May. Let's not forget about Tamika Catchings in her 15-year WNBA career, leading the Fever to the 2012 title. And, again, local product here, Samika Randall-Lay, Winthrop head coach, and how about this honor? Just recently recognized as a Hall of Famer in the American Basketball Hall of Fame in Detroit a couple weeks ago. Congratulations, Coach. All right, that leaves us with the house that Gino built, the UConn Huskies up in Stores. 45 players drafted in the WNBA draft, besting Tennessee by 2 players. Now, trying to pick the best UConn player of all time was like trying to pick my favorite ice cream flavor. Not possible. 39 seasons Gino's been roaming the sidelines and still going. We can start with Rebecca Lobo, the first great UConn Husky, who won an MVP on the first title team, now an ESPN analyst, obviously one of the original icons of the W. Last week's show, we highlighted Maya Moore, discussed her accolades, 2-time National Player of the Year, 4 WNBA titles. Last summer, we did a deep dive into Sue Bird, the iconic point guard for UConn in the Seattle Storm and the linchpin of USA basketball. Or how about the Mamba mentality of Diana Taurasi, 3 titles in 3 years at UConn, 20-plus years wearing the jersey for Phoenix, and is still doing so yet again this year. At the top of the list, in my opinion, has to be Breanna Stewart. Most outstanding player as a freshman at UConn and swept every single award thereafter, 3-time Player of the Year, and obviously a recent WNBA MVP. So there you have it. The UConn Huskies have sent the most players to the W over the last 27 years with 45 representatives.
We live here at Lab City, Charlotte's spot for basketball training.
This is Andre Speech. We train all year around at Lab City, and we help you improve your game. Whether it's preseason, in-season, or off-season, we can help you work on your shooting with our shooting instructors or work on becoming more explosive and increasing your strength. We work with athletes from 8 years old and even college and pro athletes.
Lab City, across from Bojangles Coliseum. Find them on Instagram at LabCity_CLT and online at LabCityCLT.com.